Mack Rides is the up-and-coming manufacturer. They are the company to look at in the next 5 years and are building world-class coaster after world-class coaster. 2024 looks to be their year with Hyperion, Voltron, among many other rides, and it's a bright future for this company. So I thought this would be such a fitting time to rank the models that Mack offers and cover their catalog completely in depth. There are a total of 18 models and most of them are quality products, so in today's video we're going to make a tier list of every Mack product and put them in a tier list. We are going in alphabetical order today, so to start us off is the Big Dipper. This is a super versatile model that can do a lot. So far the only two editions use chain lifts, but according to RCDB there was a Big Dipper that was under construction and opened in 2023 that uses LSM technology. I don't think that happened, but I would definitely keep your eyes open for it in 2024. Anyways, this model has the capability of taking super weird elements and has some strong forces. If you look at something like the first airtime hill on Lost Gravity, you can understand why this model is so good. Additionally, the lap bars look so good and the outside seats offer unique wing coaster experience. Overall, the Big Dipper packs crazy forces and weird elements in a decently small profile, A tier. Next up is the Mach Bobslet. This is a super gimmicky family coaster, and that's pretty much all it has going for it. There's a pretty wide spectrum for how it tracks. I have heard Reptilian at King's Dominion is pretty smooth, and that Tracy Deora is just painfully rough. So there is some inconsistency across the board. Overall though, it's just a super fun ride that has unique swinging, and is part of an overall dying genre, B tier. Up next is the E-Motion Coaster. This is by far the worst Mack model, and it's not even close. This is the only model that really flopped in the catalog as it was only sold 2 editions and one of them is already defunct. The last operating one, Tuluriki at Linnanmäki, is rough and uncomfortable, and the low capacity doesn't help its case at all. The point of this model was to create a rocking feeling, and all it did was create artificial roughness, D tier. Next up is another undersold model, and that is the Eurosat. This model is most famous for Can Coaster at Europa Park, and that is definitely a solid ride. The Eurosat essentially is an indoor coaster with a spiral lift hill, and both Can Coaster and Space Experience at Negoland are pretty well themed and pull some decent forces for a family coaster. C tier. The Mach Hyper is up next, and boy oh boy is this an insane model. These installments all have a super diverse set of elements and supply amazing forces. Every Australian enthusiast raves about DC Rivals Hypercoaster, but that may be because it's the only good coaster there. And all the other installments look amazing but are significantly less known because they're in China. There's also Hyperia that is being constructed this year. This looks to be the best, maybe second best coaster of 2024. If it's second best, it's only losing to Voltron, so Mack is dominating this year. Hyperia just looks absolutely insane to me. The profiling is just so unconventional and it looks almost impossible to me. Overall, this is a great take on the hypercoaster and I really hope we get to see more of them in the coming years. Elite tier. Next up is the Inverted Power Coaster. This is a super quirky model that should get a little more attention than it does. En route, this is an inverted power coaster that doesn't do anything crazy. It's a family coaster model and the line ends there. The reason why I think this model has high potential is its ability to be well themed. If you look at a coaster like Arthur and Dragon Gliders, the combination of Dark Ride and Thrill is what makes this so amazing. At the end of the day though, this model still is a family coaster, so C tier. Before we get into the next segment, here's a quick reminder to join the Discord, link in the description. I love talking to all of you guys there, and we do daily questions and trivia. It's a lot of fun, so please join the Discord, link in the description. I'll look forward to seeing you all there. The Kinder Octobahn is your standard mine train. This model doesn't do anything too crazy, but it is a solid family coaster. If you look at something like Gran Montserrat at Parque España, beyond having some quirky theming, it's a good mine train because it's made up entirely of helixes, so there's a lot of less meandering than some of its counterparts. So for those reasons, this model ends up in the C tier. Next up is the Mack Launch Coaster, and this is a very interesting model. Of course, Mack is known for their slow launches, and it's a fact. Copperhead Strike is just not it in terms of launches, but in terms of layout and forces, Mack hits it right on the dot. This is kind of a common trend across the board, like Helix's launches aren't crazy powerful either, and Slinky Dog Dashes is not even a launch. That is a Disney family coaster, but I felt the need to mention it based off of how comedic the so-called launches are. I do feel like there's a common trend going in the right direction and improving the launches. Beyond the Cal looks to have amazing launches, and I'm holding out hope for Starfall Racers. This model is super diverse and can manage to do pretty much anything. Manta at my home park stays under 30 feet and is probably one of the best family coasters in the world purely because of its airtime and punchy launches. Starfall Racers looks like a potential top 10 coaster in the world, and Helix is a very interesting terrain coaster. I still do think this model has some room to grow, and it is growing, but it stays in the A tier for now. Once we see some crazier layouts besides the Blue Flyer clones, this will go in the elite tier for sure. Next up is a model that people sometimes forget exists, and that is the Mach Mega. It only has 2 editions and the last installment was 10 years ago. Essentially, it's like an Intamin Megalite, except it's made by Mack. I do think the Intamin Megalites are slightly better than Mack's version because Intamin went bad crazy with the forces pulled, and Mack stayed within the realm of what was possible, but by no means is Alpina Blitz or Storm a bad ride, they just don't provide as good of a ride experience as the Intamin version. Overall though, it's still a very solid model, and I would really like to see more editions of these. A tier. The Power Splash is up next, and this is the first iteration of Mach's water coasters that we are talking about, and in my opinion, it is the best one. This got a bunch of traction with the construction of Aquaman Power Wave, and overall across the board looks like a very good model. The launches are incredibly unique for being a water coaster, and of course the huge splash is a spectacle. The swing brings interesting feelings with backward segments and some zero-G moments, and overall is a unique compact water ride. B tier. The Powered Coaster is up next, and this is an interesting model. It is kind of debatable if it's a coaster, but in my eyes it definitely is. This is the most popular coaster in Mach's catalog by a long shot, and they are pretty versatile coasters. These are put around terrain, they're put indoors, they're put outdoors. The Powered Coaster coming to Europa this park looks like one of the best of this installments. Anyways, this model has a good sense of speed and pulls minimal forces. C tier. The Mach Spinning Coaster is one of the best family coasters on the market. I know I said that Manta was a perfect family coaster, but Sierra Sidewinder does come very close. These coasters have the free spinning gimmick with relatively smaller layouts, however you don't judge a book by its cover here. Some of these layouts pull crazy forces, most notably positive Gs, and when you add crazy spinning on top of it, it's a world-class family coaster. B tier. Next up is the Striker. This is a brand new model that is making its debut this year. In my eyes, it's a glorified and upscaled version of the Big Dipper, and is in the running for the best Mach model. If you look at Voltron, the only revealed installation of this model, it actually has one of the most diverse and unique layouts in the world. Dark ride segment, LSM lift hill, a swing launch, and some crazy inversions. This machine is lining up to be one of Mach's best works. I mean, just looking at the construction, the LSMs almost seemingly go upside down, which is unheard of. I think this coaster will be top 3 Mach coasters for sure, and be the best coaster at Europa Park, hands down. I wonder if future installations of this model will match this, but boy oh boy am I excited to see what's coming up. Elite tier. The Super Splash is up next, and this is a watered down water coaster, so it's not that great. It goes up a lift hill, does a very long turnaround, sometimes with a bump, and then drops into water. That's about it. This is really hard to call a roller coaster as it feels more like a shoot the chutes ride, but RCDB counts it as one and so do I, but mainly because I'm just credit hungry. Anyways, it's a really mid take on a water coaster, and I think the Power Splash is a lot better. D tier. The normal water coaster is up next. I feel like this is a model that is very middle tier edition. Mach water coasters to me feel more like boat rides than coasters. It's essentially the Super Splash but with a fully fledged layout with variable elements and drops in the turns. That's the best way to describe it. There's no crazy forces, but it's a nice and unique way to cool off during a hot summer day. C tier. The Wild Mouse is up next, and this is another very popular Mach model. I have somehow been on 4 of these, and to be honest, I don't have much to say about them. They are your most average Wild Mouses out there. They have some good laterals, some good drops, and that's about it. The restraint system varies as well, like Coasterrider restraints are god-awful, and I had literally zero problem with Dark Knights. Anyways, very much a supporting cast model that belongs in the C tier. Next up is the one and only Extreme Spinner. This model is world class and is competing for the best models in the world with the Intamin Blitz and RMC iBox. What is so amazing about this model is it takes what an Intamin Blitz already does and adds free spinning on top of it. You have a forceful layout with great elements, and then you add the disorienting spinning aspect, and you have an elite ride right there. Ride to Happiness is a lot of people's #1 coaster and has a strong argument for being the best coaster in the world. Time Traveler is slightly worse, but just as good. This combined with the Hypercoaster and the Striker are competing for some of the Mach's finest products, and I can't wait for the day that the boundaries get pushed even farther on this model. Elite tier. To end off our video, we have the Youngstar. This is your standard family coaster, and it feels a lot like the Vekoma counterparts. I have been on Flight of the Hippogriff at Universal Hollywood, and it's good, but it's just a standard family coaster. C tier. So that's every model that Mach has to offer ranked on a tier list. Let me know if you agree with my decisions in the comment section down below. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, join the Discord, link in the description. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.